As we begin here today, you might notice if you're watching on YouTube, I am up at Fox News. I guest hosted Jimmy Fallon's show, Fox Across America. And I was supposed to be on America's Newsroom, but we had to move that. So shooting for Monday, but we'll see. Shooting for Monday. It's all right. It's okay. It's all good. You know, that's how it works. We're all right. This is the game. This is what we do. We roll with it. So anyway, the big news today is that the president says that we're going to make a decision to go or not go within the next 2 weeks. So we're going to start at cut number 3. White House press briefing just wrapped up a short time ago. If the president does speak this afternoon, we'll certainly go to it live. I don't know if he's going to or not. He also had a lot to say about how much he hates Jay Powell, the Fed chair. But anyway, here's Karoline Leavitt with this very clear message from the president about what's going to happen and the timeline around this, cut number 3.
Regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
Okay, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks. All right, great. There you go. I mean, that's Donald Trump likes to be unpredictable. We know that about him. He's always said that. He wants to be unpredictable. So is it possible that he's saying that and then something may happen within a few hours? Possible. I mean, it's certainly possible. I think anything is possible in this situation. But there is a big debate going on right now about what should happen. And one of the things I think about Trump, and I've said this before, is you got to trust the guy. You know, we elected him. We have to trust his judgment. This decision is going to be his and his alone. And he's hearing from all these various voices, some of them saying you got to bomb him, some of them saying do not do that because you're only going to start a long protracted war. It's not as simple as just bombing it and then walking away. And I think it's good to have the debate. I just don't think it's good for MAGA to start killing each other and just dividing each other. And I think that that's bad when that happens. I really do. It's a problem. So I would like everybody to tone it down. I understand. Make your case. Advocate. Make your case. Make your point. Fine. But with the name calling and everything else, man, holy cow. Karoline Leavitt also said regarding the correspondence between the United States and the Iranians, cut number 4.
As for correspondence between the United States and the Iranians, I can confirm that correspondence has continued. As you know, we were engaged with 6 rounds of negotiations with them in both indirect and direct ways.
And then what would a deal with Iran need to entail? What would that mean? I mean, the president has said, I want an unconditional surrender. What does that mean exactly? Cut number 5.
What exactly would a deal with Iran need to entail?
No enrichment of a uranium, and it would absolutely not. Iran is absolutely not able to achieve a nuclear weapon. The president has been very clear about that. And by the way, the deal that Special Envoy Witkoff proposed to the Iranians was both realistic and acceptable within its terms, and that's why the president is sent that deal to them.
The deal would be Iran does not enrich the plutonium, whatever it is, to make a nuclear weapon. How do the American people feel about this? Where do the American people stand on this? Well, CNN's Harry Enten, he's their pollster over there, very excited. He does his best Steve Kornacki impression. He says the American people, well, they're with Donald Trump on this issue of not letting Iran get a nuke, cut 7.
Chief data analyst Harry Enten joining me now. You've looked at all the numbers. Trump has said that Iran cannot possibly get a nuclear weapon, and that is what this is all about. How do Americans feel about that particular thing?
Yeah, look, I think it's a complicated picture overall, but on this particular question, and overall, I feel like there's more support for Donald Trump's positions than is comically acknowledged. Oppose Iran getting a nuclear weapon. I mean, look at this. 79% of adults agree on that. They agree with Donald Trump. Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. 83% of Republicans, 79% of independents, 79% of Democrats. When you get 79% of Democrats and 83% of Republicans agreeing on anything, you know that that position is the very clear majority in this country. And so the American public is with Donald Trump. They definitely oppose Iran getting nuclear weapons.
The question, of course, is how do you keep them from getting a nuclear weapon? And is keeping them from getting a nuclear weapon involve bombing Fredo Mountain? That's the question. That's the debate. I mean, nobody thinks they should get a nuclear weapon. It's how you stop them from getting the nuclear weapon. That becomes the question, obviously. And the debate, I get it. I mean, I understand the point of view of those who say that this thing with Iran has been going on forever and ever, and you can't trust them, and at some point they're going to develop a nuclear weapon. I get that. I also understand the point of people who say it's not going to be just as simple as just bombing this Iranian nuclear facility and thinking that that's the end of it. It never is. And these conflicts grow, and then they fester for years, because if that were to occur, it's easy to say Iran will just be left in the Stone Ages, but that may not be the case, and it may lead to an unintended consequence that drags the entire region into a very, very long conflict. The point I'm making, though, is that I don't think Trump's going to be swayed by Mark Levin, by Tucker Carlson. I think he's going to be swayed by his judgment and his belief on what he believes is the best solution to this problem, because he's not a warmonger. He's also not an isolationist. He's not the kind of guy that's easily influenced by voices around him. That's why he's always wanted people around him to debate. That's why I think it's good. I mean, have a debate. I'm not saying not to. I think you should have a debate passionately how you feel on the issue. But he will make that decision. He alone will make that decision. And the question is, do you trust him enough to make the right decision, even if it's not the decision that you want him to make? During this course of the next 2 weeks, he is going to be listening to people who are going to be saying different things to him. But I know one thing is clear. He does not want to see the United States in a long, protracted war. And if he believes that that's what would be the result of this, then I say he doesn't go. If he really believes that it could be the kind of thing where the United States drops a bomb on this Fredo Mountain nuclear facility, I call it Fredo's little Godfather reference there, and then ends it, and that's it, and there's nothing Iran can do, and then you move on, okay, then I think he goes. Then I think he does it. My impression of this is he's waiting and analyzing and looking at the ramifications of scenario A, which is you bomb it, and scenario B, which is you don't, and really within scenario A of what happens. Is it really the kind of thing where you drop a bunker buster on it and then it's over? There's nothing Iran can do, and then they just go back and pick up the pieces and try to rebuild something? Or do the following things occur if that happens? And then here, Mr. President, here are all the outcomes of what could occur if you launch a strike and you use a bunker buster and you destroy their ability to make nuclear energy. Here's all the ramifications of what could occur. And then I think he's going to weigh it. I think he's going to weigh both sides of that and then make his determination. I have a hard time, and again, I'm not an expert in foreign policy. I'm certainly not an expert in Iranian foreign policy. I have a hard time believing that Iran is capable of really pushing back and doing much if that happens, but I don't know because I have no access to intelligence. He does. So it's possible that maybe he knows that Iran can do more than we think they can to respond, to retaliate. And that when people are going on cable TV and on podcasts and saying, oh, there's nothing Iran can do if that happens, maybe that's not the case. And it's also possible the president has intelligence that says if that happens, then, there's going to be a coup and the Ayatollah is going to be out. And then you're going to wind up with this crazy whack job who's crazier than this crazy whack job is. And now you're going to have a whole bunch of new people running the country who are even worse. I don't know. That's possible, too. I imagine all of these things are being discussed among the president and among his inner circle. But I don't think he's going to go on social media and look at, it was so dumb the other night. Somebody was saying, and I'm not going to mention who, but one of the conservative voices out there who's strongly advocating for the president to drop a bunker buster bomb on Iran, that this person was getting based, whatever the term is, I don't know, ratioed, where all these people were responding on X. I'm like, first of all, I don't even understand what that means. It sounds stupid, but Trump doesn't care how many responses a conservative media guy gets to his comment advocating for him to use a bunker buster. Nor does he care how many responses that he gets from a podcaster who tweets out that we shouldn't use the bunker buster. Like, none of that stuff is relevant to Trump's decision making. He's not looking to be popular here. Like, if 63% of MAGA says go, well, then he'll go. He's not looking to do that for the simple reason that he doesn't have to run for president again. A, and B, because this coalition that supports him stands by him. Now, you may lose some people, but for the most part, I've said this before, he has, and this is an unprecedented loyalty among President Trump and his people that you don't see in politics. And you're not going to see this again in politics for a very, very long time. So his decision is not going to be made on what he thinks makes, quote unquote, MAGA happy, or makes MAGA podcasters or radio hosts or influencers happy. It's going to be based on what the outcome is going to be. If it's option A, you bunker bomb this thing, or option B, you don't. Because under both of those categories falls all of these various scenarios that we have no idea. And I think that the big mistake that sometimes we often make in these situations is thinking that our intelligence community doesn't factor in the unintended consequences enough. And that's because in the past, they didn't. We just look at Iraq. But we have Tulsi Gabbard there as the director of national intelligence. And you know what? I think Tulsi Gabbard is absolutely 100% thinking of all of the unintended consequences of what could happen under both scenarios and giving honest assessments to the president. I don't really buy this whole idea that she's been ostracized to the phantom zone, that she's not. I know the media reports are saying that. I don't really buy that. I don't believe it. She said that in March that she doesn't think Iran is close to being able to have a nuclear weapon. The president the other day made a comment about how he doesn't know if he agrees with that or not. But either way, I don't think that Tulsi is being ostracized just because the New York Times reports that Tulsi's being ostracized or being put out, or that she wasn't at a meeting. Like, so what? I mean, she may not have been at the meeting because she was doing her National Guard duty, which she was. And she may have been participating in the conversation. And there are the people within the who work for her who are also giving these national intelligence assessments to the president that involve all these various scenarios of what could occur and what could not occur in these situations. So that's what I say. I say you got to trust Trump. He's saying now 2 weeks. I think the message to the Iranians is you better get your S together, and you better get your S together very, very, very quickly and find a way to make a deal that Ambassador Witkoff presented you options. You need to take those options or else, because you don't want the scenario to happen where, and it's within 2 weeks, by the way. It's not 2 weeks. It's within 2 weeks. I mean, it's a very important point to note. It's within 2 weeks the president's going to make his decision. Today is within 2 weeks. You know what I mean? 4 hours from now is within 2 weeks. Within the next 2 weeks is the key takeaway. I'm going to play that again just because I don't want that point to be lost on you. I think some people are reporting it as in 2 weeks he'll decide. No, it's within the next 2 weeks. So that means that tomorrow morning falls within the next 2 weeks. Monday afternoon falls within the next 2 weeks. You get my point. Could be at any moment right now. Could be before the show's over today. So one more time, Karoline Leavitt from the White House press briefing, cut number 3.
Regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks. That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
Within the next 2 weeks. Within. Very clear message. It could be tonight. It could be tomorrow. It could be the 5 minutes before 2 weeks from now, that the expiration date of this 2 weeks, whatever that is. You know what I mean? But that's a key point. He said, look, Iran wants to negotiate. So based on that, all right, we're gonna negotiate, and I'll make my decision within the next 2 weeks. Because I think some people got confused by that and said, oh, he's saying in 2 weeks he'll decide? No, within. So that sends a message to Iran. You better get your butts to the table. You better negotiate. You better start doing it now, because it's going to get really ugly if you don't. It could get very, very ugly if you don't. So just keep that in mind and let, I want to know what you think. So either call the show at 855-839-1210, tweet me on X at Rich Zeoli, or weigh in on our YouTube chat at 1210 WPHT is our YouTube page. And let me know what you think. What's your opinion of what the president should do? I welcome the debate. I just don't welcome I hate the name calling and everything else that happens. I hate all that, because a coalition needs to stay together, and it's fine to have policy disagreements. That's okay. What's not fine, though, like I said, is when you start having people tear each other apart. I mentioned this comment last night when I was in Wilmington. I was very excited, and I want to say thank you to my friend Judy Travis, the fundraising chair of the Northern Newcastle County Regional Republican Committee. I got to see some great friends last night in Delaware, and we had a great time together, and our buddy Michael Pelka even showed up last night. But Judy Travis and everybody on your team, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun last night. But I said, the debate is good. Have the passionate debates. But what we don't need to be having is this public, killing each other over this, when the only person who's making that decision is Donald Trump.